Hey, it's Matt, your average gamer, and this is day 11 of our build a day until the announcement of DLC. We're trying to do a build every single day until they announce DLC. We're going to see how far we can go with this, so definitely hit that subscribe button if you're interested in that. It's been really fun so far, and we're currently on day 11, and day 11 will be the Hand of Malenia. Now, the Hand of Malenia is really fun. It has a pretty unique weapon art in Waterfowl. It's a blast to use. It's a little difficult to time at first, but it does do a lot of damage. It builds up on consecutive attacks, and overall, I was able to make a well-rounded build for it at 150 that can do some serious damage and makes use of everything the weapon has to offer. Once again, we will be concentrating mainly on the weapon art. Now, a lot of my builds are for the weapon arts because they're rather unique and they're a lot of fun to use. This one specifically allows us to build up consecutive attacks for more damage, and you're going to see in the second phase fight of Radahn, we're on New Game Plus 7, Journey 15 currently, what it can do. It really can build up a lot of damage because it does benefit from all the consecutive attack talismans in the game, along with the Thorny tier as well. And to benefit from that, you really just need to get the full first part of the weapon art. It has 3 parts. Once you get the first full part in, you will essentially buff, I believe, all of the consecutive attacks, because it does happen fast. And then the second and third one will benefit from that and be substantially more damage. As you saw there, Radahn on New Game Plus 7 got absolutely shredded by it in his second phase. If you're new, by the way, we'll be going over stats, build, equipment, everything you'll need to know at 150 later in the video. There is one thing, though, that I want to mention real quick. I'm using Golden Vow and Flame Grant Me Strength, which I'll go over later. But if you use the Ash of War Golden Vow or Rallying Standard from the Commander's Standard, I think there's still a bug or glitch issue with it that causes it to do either no damage or 1 damage. I don't think they fixed that yet, so if you're using those to buff this and you're noticing that you're not doing any damage, it's just simply like a glitch. And I don't think it's been patched yet as far as I know. I didn't test it. But for me, I went with the Ash of War Golden Vow and Flame Grant Me Strength to be safe. And I ended up doing a lot of damage. There were 2 really good buffs for this anyway. And it ended up working pretty fantastically. And as you can see, I originally tested it on mobs. Not a lot of issue with mobs here. It's a very long-reaching katana, and the weapon art is very useful against them. So the Draconic Tree Sentinel here did kill me 2 different times. I ended up getting him on the 3rd try. We are on max scaling, but generally speaking, I don't have a lot of problems with the Draconic Tree Sentinel anymore. But it was an issue with this specific weapon art because simply a lot of his attacks have infinite hyper armor or just going to knock you down, and you can very easily get knocked out of it. And it was very hard to pull off in the second phase. In the first phase, it was fine, and it honestly shredded him for a lot of damage, as you can see there in the beginning. But after that, it became a lot more difficult as he was able to consistently knock me out of the weapon art. Again, didn't take a ridiculous number of tries here, but I did notice that when you're up in the air, you're not completely invincible or anything like that. You don't even take reduced damage as far as I know. And you can get knocked down by a lot of different boss attacks, so do be aware of that. It is a little hard to pull off in certain situations and circumstances, but when you do pull it off, you build up those consecutive attacks and you do get the hits in. It does feel really good, and there is that payoff where it does build up. And on the second and third weapon art, assuming that you're able to go through with them, they're going to do a lot more damage. But just remember that as far as the weapon art goes, when you get to that second and third one, if you're able to pull them off, that's where the benefit of it kicks in. That's where you start to get a lot of damage and everything starts to make sense and the build's really good. Don't forget the weapon has a little bit of innate bleed on it as well. And as you're going to see with mobs here, it's also one of the longer reaching and more powerful pure AR damage katanas in the game, making it very, very good for going through single mobs. And then if you're getting overwhelmed, if you're able to pull off the weapon art, you can end up clearing mobs very easily. You're going to see the weapon art again here. And it's a fun one to pull off. This has to be one of the more aesthetically pleasing and fun weapon arts to use in the game. And obviously, certain mobs are going to get completely shredded by it. And bosses that are unsuspecting too, this is also fantastic against. The main issue that I ran into, and as you saw it with the Draconic Tree Sentinel, is that certain bosses that have a lot of reach or have a lot of like little animations that have infinite hyper armor are going to knock you out of it. You're not going to be able to get the full damage out of it. You really want to be able to get that second and third one off, because that's where you're going to get the maximum damage from those consecutive attack bonuses that tend to build up after the first one. So even a little tougher enemy like the tree avatar here, he's got a lot of wide range attacks and he can hit you out of it in a lot of situations. We're still able to do a lot of damage to him. Like I said earlier, I'm building this entirely around the weapon art instead of the katana itself, and I mainly want to be able to spam and utilize that weapon art and turn it into a fantastic build. That's generally what I do with most weapons, and for this one, it's no exception because waterfowl is a lot of fun. I mentioned that before, but it's a really fun weapon art to pull off, and when you absolutely shred a boss with it, it feels really good too. It has a good feel to it, and almost like a rhythm, much like Malenia uses it on us. The rhythm is really fun with this one. This is definitely something that is fun. By the way, for those interested in later game bosses, does have a little bit of a drop off there because some of them are obviously faster and can hit quicker. I don't know how much I'd recommend it for Malachi and some of the other ones, but as far as Godfrey goes, anything that puts you airborne, and I believe this is going to be included, will avoid his stomp, so there is that. Yeah, from what I remember, you can actually use the black knife too to go into the air and avoid the stomp. I believe as long as you're not on the ground, it'll avoid it. However, when you're in the actual attacking animation, obviously then he'll be able to knock you down. And I'm not sure if it's the most fantastic weapon against him, but with that said, let's go into the buffs that we're doing here. And first we're going to drink the consecutive attack tier, and then we're going to use Golden Vow, and then we're using Flame Grant Me Strength because that's going to give us an extra 20% physical damage on top of Golden Vow. And then the weapon art has 3 parts to it. It is a little stamina costly in battle, but it doesn't cost too much FP. It's within reason. So we have the Hand of Malenia plus 10, any seal will do, Random Set On, Shard of Alexander, Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, Millicent's Prosthesis, Dragoncrest. I know it's not the Great Shield. I know it's been a running joke on this character. And then the consecutive attack tier and the Thorny tier. And I think we have the Faith tier for buffs as well. So to sum up this video in the sense of like the build and everything, I know this is one of the shorter ones that I've done recently, but everything's just building up around consecutive hits and being able to get that second and third one, as I've mentioned probably several times at this point, but that really is the benefit. The second and third one will do a lot more damage as a result of those consecutive attack bonuses. Now for stats, we went all in on Dex. This is a pure Dex weapon. You don't really need much aside from that, aside from the 15 Faith, and then we'll have 25 with Golden Vow. And then obviously for Vigor, we went with 50. But yeah, Dexterity is going to be your main stat here, and that's everything that you want to put into it because this is a pure Dex weapon. And there it is, day 11 of our build a day until they announce DLC. This has been a blast so far. Definitely hop on board if you want to see a build a day until we get some kind of DLC announcement. It is time. We really need that DLC. I can't wait for it. I know some people are saying next year. I think it's going to be sometime in the summer or later this year, but I do think within the next month or two, we'll see an announcement. We'll have to see about that. Obviously, it's all guesswork at this point. If you're not subbed, though, definitely sub if you want to see how long this can go on for. And there's a ton of awesome builds on my channel. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll catch you guys there.